Welcome to this episode of From the Suggestion Box, navigating feedback, the good, the bad, and the say what? Not letting the good stuff go to your head and the bad stuff go to your heart. My guest today is Mr. Adam James, and I am so happy to have him here. Adam James, CBA, yes, those very, very important letters that I hope to have behind my name one day. He is a volunteer engagement professional from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. He is passionate about community building and bringing people together for good causes. He is currently serving as a director of volunteer engagement at Christie Lake Kids, a grassroots program for children and youth in Ottawa. He also is a part of the team at Beyond the Bake Sale. If you guys have not listened to it, you need to. A platform to bring innovative and effective ideas to help people raise more time, talent, and treasure for the causes they care about. Adam is on the Ottawa Administration of Volunteer Resources Board and the Engagement and Membership Lead. He also takes time to lead workshops at Volunteer Ottawa and beyond. At home, he is a daddy to 3 very fast-growing children, an amazing wife that puts up with his dad jokes. That is an amazing wife indeed. She also apparently puts up with loud music and coffee and craft beer snobbery. Actually, can we interview your wife instead? I'm fascinated now. So Adam, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's absolutely a pleasure to be here and to have a fun chat and conversation with you.
Yes, that's what it's all about. Having fun, making fun of ourselves, learning how to not take ourselves seriously and just to grow as people. So with that being said, let's dive right in. We're talking about feedback. Is there something that you want to share that was either a crazy piece of feedback that just really made you grow because you had to, or a really good piece of feedback that maybe you got from a supervisor that really launched you into your career? The topic is feedback, but it's open, so go.
Perfect. I'm gonna take us way back to the 8th grade.
Yes.
A very shy and very nervous 8th grader was about to do his first ever oral presentation, and fear-stricken and downcast, he grasped his paper to almost tearing it apart and stared down at it and read it in a muffled voice. This is a future person who did not realize he had a career dealing with the community and public speaking and standing up in front of people talking. And so from that moment on, there was a bit of an uphill climb. And the feedback that helped get me through, there's kind of 3 parts to it. The first one was somebody told me, a mentor told me, you're a good person and you have a good heart, so trust that. The second part, and this is the tougher of the 2, you're going to come up against opposition because you have a good heart, and you need to check yourself and make sure that you're not overstepping and you're in the right place, but don't give up. And then the third piece that ties it all together is more advice I heard. It was kind of like a inspirational person, but they said, you know that feeling you get in your stomach when you're nervous, the butterflies, that feeling? That's not like nerves that you're bad's gonna happen. That is your body telling you you're doing something important. And that hit me so hard. And so ever since I kind of really encapsulated that, the combination of those bits of feedback, I've really been able to believe in what I'm doing and get past any, sadness or fear or worry that comes along with standing up in your community and trying to make a difference.
Man, I like all of those, but I have to tell you that second one really resonated with me. And I feel as managers of volunteers, leaders of volunteers, that a lot of people will resonate with that, it will resonate with them as well, because we are really intrinsically just really good people. Like I have never met a volunteer manager I didn't, you know, I mean, everybody has such kind, caring hearts, and they love people, and they're always
Yeah.
looking out for them, and they're advocates for the volunteers, and and that has been one of my biggest things that I have overcome, that I had to overcome, is that people would mistake my niceness, or my kindness, for weakness, and I'm like, look,
Yeah.
don't cross me. But and so, man, that one really, really resonated. Like, knowing that people are gonna want to try to take advantage of your kindness, but being prepared and knowing how to. I mean, wow. So how do you like work with that? Like, how do you? I can't even get the question out. Like, the whole, like, yeah. How do you do that? How do you prepare for when people try to take advantage
That's it.
of your kindness? Yes, there's the question. I finally got it out.
Yeah, I think it's why these are all in combination, right? And that there's the gut and the instincts, and you have to really lean on that as your guiding star, because if you're not doing what you've been kind of set out to do, helping in the community, like advocating for volunteers, supporting that team of volunteers into being engaged and doing the work, if you're not doing that, and someone's trying to be like take basically overstep or take your resources or kindness and put you in a different place, that's really should set off an alarm. It's like the kindness, like you were saying, it's not a beacon of like, use me for whatever you want. It's this is how we foster care and collaboration and mission in the midst of the people we work with, by being a trusting, loving person. And that, yeah, it has to have that gut check. Like, you have to be plugged in to who you are and why you're doing what you're doing, or else, yeah, you could end up, doing many things that are not part of anything that needs to be done in your calling. Yeah.
Yes, and as you were talking, a couple of things came to mind, right? Number one,
Yeah.
that's why understanding boundaries and setting boundaries and
Yeah, that's it.
to communicate that is so important, because
Yeah.
like, in general in life, I'm very much a giver, right? Like, I would
Yeah.
keep it off my back and just give. But I had to learn that the same way I'm a giver, there's a lot of people who are takers, and I had to
Yeah.
understand that the same way
Yeah.
I would give, there's a lot of people who will just be gladly
Yeah.
willing to take it,
Yeah.
and understanding I had to put that boundary up. And
Yeah.
and I know, like, some people, I've heard people say, that volunteer managers have a problem saying no, and I'm like, really? Because it's like my favorite. So no all day. So much so, like, when I do say yes, especially with my daughter, like, I think I shock her more when I say yes than when I say no. Like, so, but I think that's kind of where that setting boundaries and learning to say no nicely can kind of help to shield and guard and protect our hearts, because we are such kind people. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, they're kind of look at it as like a reciprocation, right? As you give, what you're giving to and investing in. And I'm going to dip into this because I end up doing this all the time. There's always a gardening analogy mixed in, because it's either a fishing analogy or a gardening analogy. You can learn so much about all kinds of things from this. So if you take a garden and you keep growing plants in it and never fertilize and never give back, never restore, then the plants are going to stop growing. And it's the same thing with us. If we don't realize that we need also to be fertilized and given all that good time and energy and investment and leadership opportunities, all that stuff, we're not going to be able to grow and create things that we've been asked to do. And that's exactly it needs to be plugged into the reciprocation and all the growth that has to happen. So if we're just giving, we can't grow. And so it is a balancing act of, as our organizations and coworkers and people that are looking to take some great things from us, we also have to have kind of in the agreement somewhere along the line, what part of this is going to help me grow so that I'm prepared to take on more or have resources to do more. And that's huge. Yeah. Got to always look for that reciprocal growth.
Man, that is so good. Like for two reasons, right? Because it also really, really touches on the importance of self-care too, right?
Yeah, that's
So
it.
you can be giving and giving and giving, but if you are not taking care of yourself and pouring back into yourself, whatever that means, if it's eating correctly or exercising or reading or just shutting off all electronics for 5 minutes. I know it's a stretch. But
Yeah.
so like that, I mean, so not only it's like twofold, right? Because it's not only coming from those who support us, like they can't just keep taking from us and not
Yeah.
pour back into us, but we have to do that. We can take some responsibility for ourselves and also pour back into ourselves as well. Because you're constantly giving, you're going to run out of energy, just like a car, right? Like if you don't continuously fill it up with gas, it's not go anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's it. You're going to run out of gas.
That's it.
You're going to run out of gas.
Yeah. And not to mention your oil changes and your other maintenance and switching to winter tires for those of us up here in the north.
Oh yes. Oh, I remember those days. Yeah, but let's do that reminder for us who kind of forgot about that. Yeah.
So it's definitely like you're saying, there's tons of different mechanics, and I love about the community of volunteer managers I've met is that they're so good at helping you keep each other accountable to take time to be together and to blow off steam or rest or learn something, and that to me is such a healthy part of exactly what that reciprocation is. So I'm being now coming into, I think, my 5th year of doing volunteer management full time. I've loved that community. So we have a local Ottawa group, OAVR, which is awesome. And then meeting people across Canada and now in the States and Australia. It's so awesome. Like there's a whole healthy network of people who are really pushing for all these kinds of things. And that to me is one of the most surprising but exciting parts about volunteer management is it is a community, and within a community, right? We all have our own organizational communities that we work in, but then this professional group really brightens spirits and helps really fill us up. And so don't neglect that, and take the time to do the professional development, and not just maybe the webinars or workshops, but some of the more social ones too. I felt that getting to actually meet the people that you're learning with and learning from, it means a world to me, and everything else kind of comes to life as you do that. So
I love that you say that, meeting and getting to know the people that you're also learning from, because like a lot of times, right, I'll jump on like a social call or whatever, and I'm there and people are like, oh, it's Nicole, and I'm like, what? It's literally just me. Like I'm not that great, like just your friend. Had we been in the room together, I probably would have never said anything because I'm such an introvert. I would have been in the person in the corner, drinking the orange juice, watching everybody. So I'm like, I was surprised. They were like, oh, it's Nicole. Like, I mean, yeah, but I'm literally just you. And I'm here to learn and network and get to know you as well, because I'm in the same boat as everybody else. I'm learning. I want to learn. I've only been in this for 5 years. I'm just trying to soak up and learn something from everywhere I go. And yes, I have the opportunity to speak at conferences, but that's only because I was like, hey, I want to share. And somebody's like, would you share? Yes. Like, I mean, it could have been anybody. I just kept saying yes, like, okay. But like, I just, and I think it takes away that, and this may not be like the right word, but like, it takes away that like superstar effect of like, oh, it's just, I put my pants on the same way you do. I'm no, let's erase that, because I'm doing the same things you are. It's just I might happen to post about it a little bit more, which is why some people know about it, but I'm not doing anything greater than you are. So like,
so that's it.
Yeah.
It reminded me of a fun story. So my first ever national conference here in Canada, Rob Jackson's the keynote speaker, and I kid you not, we dressed exactly the same shirt, same pants, same haircut. So I just went up to him. I was like, we have to take a selfie because we like totally got the same team dressing announcement, and we were the only. And considering there's probably 5 guys at the whole conference,
Right.
2 of us were dressed exactly the same. So we were definitely, connecting on that level. So that was great because I just went up and asked him for a selfie. And then I think 6 months later, I used that and kind of jokingly just to connect with him and be like, hey, remember when we took that selfie? That was great. Do you want to be on Beyond the Bake Sale?
Exactly. Right. And it's like, I get it.
Okay.
Though. I gotta be honest, like if Rob Jackson's here, I'd probably be like, oh, and you say like, Nicole, seriously. I'm like, I know, but like it's Rob Jackson.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so since we're talking about feedback, and I'm sure, and feel free to tie in Beyond the Bake Sale in any way that you.
Of course.
But in terms of not only receiving feedback, but like giving feedback, have you ever been in a position where you had to give some feedback and woo, it probably just didn't go over as well as you had expected, or it went over better than you expected and you were like, oh my gosh, thank God.
Being out in volunteer management, giving feedback is a regular part of it. It's baked in. If it's not, please consider. See that bad dad joke, pun, and great connection to the next point. So all in one there. But if you're a volunteer manager and you haven't created a cycle of feedback, both giving and taking, then you need to. It's the only way you're going to keep track of your whole community of people and have a genuine connection where people have a voice and a say. I would say a few times. The hardest part, I'm going to go with what I really found difficult is people who want to volunteer but aren't in a place to volunteer with their mental health, and being the person to step in and say, take care of yourself first. We love that you want to be here, but you need to be your best self to be able to give to others. And we want you to take that time. So that was hard for me because, telling anybody that they should or shouldn't do something, not always the easiest thing, but again, you're checking that heart and you're checking that sense of like, can we in good faith have somebody who's really struggling coming and help work with kids, for example? It's like, we'd love it if they can, but if they're at a place where they need some time for themselves, they should take that first. And so I've always invited them back when, they've had some time and some rest and wanting to take care of them, wanting to better take care of themselves and then provide that. But that's always, to me, one of the feedbacks that it's tough. Like it definitely, have to admit it. And I'll be frank and honest is that I've struggled with mental health at times in my life. And so it's personal. It kind of connects me to what people are going through. And I know there's times where giving and working with kids can be a help for your mental health. There's also times where it can be a hindrance. And so helping people manage that and be honest with themselves. We want people to be the best selves working with the kids and the youth that we work with. So taking a break for a season and being honest about it is sometimes really good. And it's sometimes really good mentorship to the youth that you might be working with, exactly to say that I need some time for myself. Making a goal to be back in January, and I can't wait to check in then.
Yeah, and that's so good. Because sometimes, and even like some of the challenges that we've had, even with people who want to volunteer, and we know that we've come with that question, especially with the pandemic and everything that's going on. And we have some people who are like, rushing to come back, and we're like, well, but how do we make that judgment call, right? Because everybody should be able to make the judgment call for themselves. But even if we know that it's probably not really in their best interest to come, but they're like, I don't care, I'm 100 years old. If the pandemic takes me, you're just like, but no, because we still want you to be 101. It's like, having that like that sitting on the fence of, man, what what do you do? Do you let them make
Yeah.
a decision for themselves, or do you kind of act on their behalf and they may not be happy?
Hmm.
Like, oh yeah, so
Yeah.
that's good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. And with that, we have some near and dear volunteers who are so committed to our programs, but they're like, yes, I can come, but you see that they're kind of on the fence, and you do a little bit of searching, and it's like, I have a family. They have a family member at home who's immune compromised. You're like, of course you don't have to come. You take care of them. Stay
Yeah,
home.
yeah.
That's
And
the
don't
best
feel
thing you
bad
can
about it.
do.
Yeah.
We'll be here when this is over, and you can come back then. And just take care of your family, like those things, because they don't want to say a hard no because they really want to help, but and they're trying to figure out the balance. And it's like, no, no, no. Take care of yourself. We're gonna make this at work. We're gonna be okay. And yeah, so those sorts of conversations are definitely COVID contextual, really, not just a challenge, but like deep. Like, you love us that much that you're trying to figure out a way to like both be safe and show up and everything. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, like it does touch the heart, and I think COVID does that. It brings out the best and worst in people, and
Yeah.
I'm thankful to see a lot of the best as well, because there are some days that maybe not so much the best, and those stories help me realize, the good hearts of people for the most part through all this.
Yes, indeed. And that's what I love about what we do is
Yeah.
you get to see, like my fiance is ex-military and ex
Hmm.
law enforcement, and he's just seen a lot of not so good stuff and just has really
Yeah.
seen like the bad side of humanity on a daily
Yeah.
basis. And I feel like we get the exact opposite of that, right? And so
Yeah.
it's just like a good reminder. It's like, thank goodness for me. Thank goodness he's like X
Hmm.
all of that. He's not in it anymore. But it's funny because sometimes we'll be having a conversation, and I always kind of like will show him like the other side, the positive, like, oh, and it's
Hmm.
because of the nature of. I know you've been exposed to that, but there really are, because it's hard if you're
Yeah.
seeing day after day after day.
Yeah.
It's
Shapes
hard. But we
shapes what you
get to
see. Yeah.
see the good day after
Yeah.
day after day after day. It's just like I don't take that for granted, and I like to share that because some people aren't
Yeah.
fortunate as we are to see the good in humanity all the time, you know.
Yeah.
Especially the
Oh,
way that
it's
is always, just always filtering so much negative. It's like I
yeah.
understand that there is negative out there, but there are so many great people doing so many good things
Yeah.
that not get that
Yeah.
kind of attention.
Yeah, when we talk volunteer recognition, we're often thinking of our volunteers, but there's also this side effect of like, it's good for the community to be hearing the recognition of what these people are doing, and the time they're giving, the care and the investment, because it enriches the community. And that, to me, tell our stories like that. That's one of the things I know you said you in your lead up to volunteer manager day, you put out each day a new, I was like, the storyteller. Yes, it's such a part of it, is that we're so many things in the sense that we're carrying through this community, and that was definitely like, we have to help out. Like, I think there was one where it was like the bullhorn, and we're like, sharing. I forget exactly what day it was, but I was like, that's it. We have to amplify people's stories, and
Yes,
it
yes,
means so much. It does, and
yes.
we have to tell the stories about the good of going on, and so that people don't give up on humanity and think
It's
that it's all bad and all conflict, because there's so much good. And it's not as loud sometimes, but that's kind of on us to help make it, like, turn up the volume a little bit. Yeah. And
yep.
really celebrate, and find places to get out and show the community what you're doing. I loved your drive-by volunteer get together. That was amazing. Like, that's, you know,
Thank you.
it's this incredible positive thing happening over here. Is it a political rally? No, it's people being thankful for people helping. And that's just such a positive thing.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and the crazy thing about it is we've gotten a lot of really good publicity from that, more than I would have ever expected. And I think it's just because the world in general is hungry for good things happening and seeing good
Yeah.
things. And so it's like being shared. And one of the things I love about Karina Sadler, CVA, is that she's so great about like really promoting on social media, and I've kind of tried to take after her lead, and like you said, turn up the volume and dial it up a notch. And that's kind of where I was going with the whole countdown, because I was like, it really wasn't for volunteer managers, because y'all all know that I'm preaching to the choir. But it was like to my community of friends and people who know me,
Yeah.
don't really necessarily know what I do. It's like, hey, y'all,
Yeah.
hey, this is what we do. This is what we do.
Yeah.
We're not walking around eating bonbons and like playing patty cake. Like we're doing like real stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
okay.
for sure.
So I want to talk about Beyond the Bake Sale.
Let's do it.
So, and we're going to tie feedback in somehow. But what is it about, like how did that come about? And in my personal mindset, just because, and I am biased, there had to be some type of feedback that you all were getting from the traditional. It's just like, we gotta go beyond the bake sale, because so tell me how that happened.
Yes. Amazing. So I have the joy of telling this story secondhand because I was kind of adopted into the Beyond the Bake Sale family. So I can tell this completely without any guilt or shame here. The people the two gentlemen that started, they were university students, and they were into giving back to the community, and they were, getting pledges for their fraternity and all that kind of stuff. And they realized that everybody did the exact same thing. And there was bake sales to the left of them, bake sales to the right of them, bake sales in front of them. And they kind of got sick of everybody gets a bake sale.
Everybody gets a bake sale.
And somehow everybody and nobody raises money except for the baking goods store, who gets lots of money because everybody bought a bunch of stuff. And then everybody got the freshman 15 again, because the bake sales are very good for that.
Yes.
The calories don't count if it goes to charity, right?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So the origins are very tongue in cheek, and they are very much based in that. But then as we've grown, and your feedback is it ties in exactly right, is that they were looking around the community and saying, where's the place for people to get from that next level of like, I want to raise some money or help somewhere, to those super influential people raising millions of dollars for their organizations. It seems like there's nothing in between. There's no elevator to get there. There's no process to which to like figure out how to become, a next level philanthropist versus like, I want to raise a few dollars here and there, or donate a few dollars here and there too. I want to make a significant impact. So they were saying that to fill this space, we need to kind of put something in that place. So they started interviewing, and you'll see the first two seasons are these amazing people who have become really proficient, and then the journeys that they've taken to get there, some of their best stories and go-to practices. And it really is this feedback loop for new people to get engaged. So pretty much what we're doing is providing all kinds of feedback free of charge from professionals, for people who want to be more interested in giving back to the community. And so I came along one cold night, probably 2 years ago, met with Christian, who is the host and lead of the podcast. And we were just talking. I was interested in the master's program he'd taken at university. So I wanted to pick his brain. And we just started talking about helping in the community. And by the end of it, he's like, do you want to join Beyond the Bake Sale? And he just kind of picked out of the conversation that really the same kind of the values of what was going on. And the awesome part is he's a fundraising guy, a philanthropy guy, and I'm a volunteer guy. And together we have kind of do different podcast episodes with different focuses, knowing and kind of owning that time, talent, and treasure. Yeah. Seeing that both your money and your time, donating both of those in any combination are exactly the same thing, is giving back to things that you care about, and not saying one or the other. There's different processes, there's different ways to go about it, but there's people that volunteer to fundraise, and there's people that give all of their time and would never think of the money, and all everywhere in between. And it's such a great space to celebrate volunteer management. So I've had some excellent guests on to do that. Last season, we had Rob Jackson, as I mentioned, and Meridian Swift join us. This season, we're going to have the Nicole Smith join us. As well as a friend of mine who developed the first app for volunteer appreciation. So there's an app now that we can pass out, a volunteer manager can have. Only in Ottawa so far, but we can figure out a way to get this out to other places. That is an app that provides discounts for the community, and any volunteers that volunteer for a recognized organization can go around and get discounts at all these different stores. So he's developed this app, and it was all built into this desire for volunteers, as he was a volunteer, saying, wow, like there's so much going on here. How could people be thanked for this awesome time? And so he was this amazing brain, and he had some friends who were into building apps, and he was getting his MBA, and all in the mix of all this, he created this wonderful thing. So what a great story that he has. And then even more coincidental, my stepsister-in-law, not through her profession whatsoever, she's an actress and a project manager. She ends up being the first I've ever heard of this. She was the first virtual reality volunteer coordinator. So they were in a totally virtual reality event, and she was the volunteer coordinator, helping volunteers in virtual reality figure out what they need to do to be volunteers in an entirely virtual space. So that's a really great one that's coming up as well. So,
oh my gosh.
So fun to kind of connect and provide a space to kind of share these really innovative volunteer management and volunteer sector type engagement. So it's really a great time. This season coming up is going to be full of that kind of excellent storytelling and providing those new ideas and new connections to what's going on in the world.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm hitting subscribe like twice. Like, wow, that is fascinating. Fascinating. Okay. So let me ask you this. How did you fall into volunteer management? Because as we all know, nobody when they were like, 6 years old on the playground was like, I want to be a volunteer. They're like, I want to be a cop or a firefighter or a teacher. Like nobody was like, I want to manage volunteers. So how did it happen to you?
Yeah. Maybe in the future that will happen. Maybe that will be like exactly like yeah. So to me, like the main thing is I've always wanted to build community and help people around a cause or a passion. And I've run youth groups and different programs like that. And it was always about gathering people together for a cause. And very young, like 16 or so, I realized that asking people to help plan that with you is a lot better than trying to do it yourself. So I've kind of been a defunct volunteer manager since I was a teenager. We used to put on Battle of the Bands shows and like different kind of youth group events. And we always realized that if we asked more people to be involved, it could get bigger and more valuable and more exciting and more people could be involved. And so it started quite young. And then as I started running my own programs, realizing that not everybody connects with me and we need a variety of people to connect to a variety of youth. And that I've built that idea of a holistic community where there's a diversity of connections and different minds and different voices. And then as I was working at Christie Lake Kids, I was leading their youth program, and we didn't have a volunteer management person at all. And so everybody was working off the side of their desk, looking for volunteers while running programs, while trying to keep everything going. And it was exhausting, especially if a couple of volunteers had to back down.
Right.
And so as I got towards the end of my first year, I was like, we need a volunteer person. I didn't even know this was a thing yet, but I knew that the need was there in our organization. And I was like, I want to be that person. I had some success connecting with people, building up that kind of as I was working and running programs and everything. And I was like, I think that would be amazing for me. I had 3 small kids at the time. I was out past 9 o'clock, 3 nights a week working. And I was like, I just want to see my kids. And I think this is a way I can multiply my impact on the organization by bringing in a whole bunch of great people to then help run the programs. And that was that. And we convinced our ED that this was the right move and that spending this time and changing the way things are a bit would pay dividends. And we doubled the size of our volunteer program, and we're able to grow. And it is an excellent way in which our program is actually has been for a long time, but is now super ingrained in our program that's volunteer led and staff supported. So we help the volunteers run the programs. They run them and we help them run them. And that creates such a breadth of possibilities, because anybody who wants to give of their talent and their ability, if they're a hockey coach, or if they're uh, a chef, or if they're into rock climbing, we have all these different people who can come provide these experiences that I can't do.
Right.
I'm not very good at any of those things,
I mean,
but we have people plugged in that can. So
that's like you have like the ultimate skills-based volunteer program. It's literally come as you are and do what you do and let's make this
yeah,
happen. Like you don't necessarily have to retrofit them. They come ready to go with what they do.
yeah.
That did I use the wrong definition of retrofit? I, I have to I'll have to make sure I look that up before I let the podcast air.
Yeah, yeah. No worries. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah. No, yeah, and it's awesome because we rely on their passions and skills, and then we add to them the training, that the things that are Christie Lake focused that they want to learn, and it just creates this awesome possibility of they get to do what they're passionate about and pass that on to a bunch of kids and teach them out of experience, and then they can also do some of the things we ask them to do, like help intentionally build those skills and help them work on their social skills while they're teaching them about the particular practical skills. Anyway, it's really exciting, and I love being like taking a step back and looking at that process has just been really awesome. And yeah, it like you said, you fall into it because you see a need and you see that things could be the community could grow if you kind of find a different way to be a part of it, and that was the key. And I love what we are able to do now. And with COVID, again, it was a big setback. We lost a bunch of volunteers, but the ones that stayed on and felt confident, some of them for the first time ever went on and led a virtual program in virtual space out of trying all kinds of new skills. Some of the other volunteers are willing to follow all of our many protocols for safety, and putting on masks and wearing gloves and staying away from the kids and making sure that they're all spaced out. And anyway, they've just been amazing. So it's just seeing that kind of maturity and growth in the volunteers that we're part of our organization. Again, that's where we get all this joy from in our jobs, and being able to be so proud. So I love that part about it.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. So I may have already asked you this. And if I did, I'm sorry. But I'm
No
asking
worries.
because I don't remember. I feel like I already just asked you this, but everything that you just said was so great. Okay. So have you ever had to give a piece of feedback that didn't go like you had wanted it to?
Yeah, I think we kind of had a few options there. So I kind of went with the harder, like what was a hard piece of feedback to get, to give, and talk about the mental health side. We chatted about that a bit, but a piece of,
Yes, you
yeah.
did.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
I
but
knew it. Thank you. Keep that
no,
out.
that's good.
Okay. Okay.
Or leave it in. It's all good. We're used to that right now.
I know, right? It's just,
Yeah.
it continues to remind people that I'm literally just like everybody else. I remember to hit record this time. We're not going
Yeah.
to talk about the ones I did it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, as a volunteer manager,
Yeah.
what has been, or this could be like professionally or personally, but like your greatest accomplishment that you're most proud of so far?
Yeah. I think the best way I can put it, and ties into what I was talking about, and just really finding this new field and being able to kind of really own it and identify with it as such a core part. Like I've always wanted to build community, but I had to rebuild my career. I was a pastor for almost 10 years, running youth groups and churches. And when that was no longer looking like my future, I really had to figure out what the heck was going to be next, and what I was going to do. And I knew I wanted to help people. That was my guiding star. I was like, it was my guiding star before, it's my guiding star now. So I want to be part of building community and be a part of making life better for people, because life is hard. And we can make it less hard if we help care for each other and do good things together. and that was the guiding star. And so I went into the not-for-profit not knowing which role to take or which roles were even available. And I was able to bounce around for a few different contracts. Worked as an assistant event manager for a new immigrant center, which was very rewarding and enriching, and the diversity there and the people I met was such a great experience. But there's no long-term opportunity there. And then I did another short job, and it was a really bad fit. It didn't work. We're not going to talk anymore about that. And then Christie Lake happened, and it was kind of all the things I loved about the youth group job and working with young kids, helping people out, being inspirational and giving positive messages where there weren't otherwise very many. And that was a great fit. And then even more so, I didn't even expect it, is that when the volunteer part came up, I was like, that's the thing. And it fit my passion, it fit my goals, my abstract mind that can connect all the pieces of different hats and different, like the many different tasks, and being good at a lot of different skills, and allowing your brain to go in different directions, different days, according to what was needed, being a people person, but also being a systematic person, and all those things really kind of came together and being a volunteer. So I'm really proud that in building a second career, it all came together, and then it's just been growing. And I've been loving, again, starting to write about the sector, starting to do some podcasts about the sector, meeting amazing people, conspiring for goodness, and doing some future projects, and all that stuff is really enriching. And I'm really proud that it's been able to come this far in only 5 short years. And I can only imagine what the next 15 are going to be like. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said that you're writing about it. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I have loved writing. I mean, as working in churches, you're always writing sermons and different like programming. I was actually part of curriculum for youth leadership back in the day. So I've always loved writing and had a craft for writing. I'm actually very, very amateur guitarist who I also love to write songs. And so writing has always been part of what I do. I love journaling. So it's very intrinsical to who I am. And so all of a sudden realizing that there's lots to be said in the volunteer management world. It's a sector on the upswing. It's a sector that's growing, and we're learning a lot. There's a great heritage of like first generation people that kind of set us in a great direction with lots of inspiration. And then the baton is clearly being passed to another generation of volunteer managers. And usually that's the point of explosion. Like the first generation like trudges and works so hard just to get known and mentioned. And then the second generation takes that on and becomes leaders in the community, and then helps elevate the sector. And I feel proud to be a part of that. And I think great things are ahead. There's tons of advocacy to do. I know I've tapped into working with writing about the Senate paper in Canada. It's written about there's 42 recommendations that the Senate of Canada has made for the government to take on according to the charitable sector. And the first 5 would revolutionize volunteer management. Things like volunteer management being core funding and funding proposals for not-for-profits, which is unheard of in the world today. From having a national volunteer strategy, so the whole country would be encouraging volunteerism versus people having to kind of like, each individual organization has to really try to push their own marketing campaign, all this, from potentially having pensions and all kinds of stuff. So there's this paper written, and it hasn't seen the government hasn't given it 2 seconds yet. It just got passed in the Senate to now be shown, and we're so like, as somebody who wrote about it last year, I'm so excited. It's like, hey, that thing that we hoped happened is starting to happen. And like, so I'm really excited to be able to like tune into that to see where it goes, because I think what I know from the volunteer managers that I know, and these 5 simple things that are here as recommendations, that even if a couple of them get passed, it'll be such a victory, and also like an empowerment to the volunteer managers across the country to step on. Like even just having police checks be free for volunteers is another one that's written in there. It's like, if that could just happen, because that's an argument across Canada. Some people are paying $100, some people are getting them for free, and like there's this huge disparity. And it's a huge for some volunteers, it's a huge hurdle. For some other people, it's like, that's $20, who cares? Like,
right. Right.
But if we could just have some of these things like settled so that we can actually build, like you would never think of, if, like a fundraiser or something like that saying like you have to pay for your grant proposals. Like no one's ever going to make you do that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we have to have some standards like that set. And I feel like that this is the next number of years we'll be able to really speak to that. And we have a lot of great backing with organizations now. I know in the States you guys have Alive, and up in Canada we have BMPC and Volunteer Canada. And so there's lots of great momentum with people advocating for who we are, and we exist, and we're here, and we're making a difference. And that is, as volunteer managers, great, because then we can pass all the passion onto our volunteers to say that, look, you're being recognized.
Yes.
And that's the real joy, that we now have more tools to help more people help people. And that at the end of the day, like, hits it on the head for me. And I kind of coined the term. I hadn't heard it somewhere else. If somebody else has already written it down, they can have it. But we're the people that help people help people. And
I
that,
love
to me,
it. The people who
yeah,
help people. I love.
yeah,
I used to tell people that my job was I get paid to recognize people, or no, I get paid to appreciate people.
yeah, yeah, huge. Love it.
Yep. So do you write? Am I could be wrong, but do you write a blog as well, or?
So part of Beyond the Bake Sale, we do podcasts, and we also have some blogging in there. And lately, what I've been doing is a many-part series, when I have time to get to it, about the We Charity scandal in Canada. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but
No, I love scandals. What's going on?
might not have time in this one. But basically, a huge charity kind of imploded during COVID, because they were given almost $1 billion to do a volunteer program across Canada, but they really weren't equipped to do it well. They weren't the right choice. There was,
Yes.
yeah. Anyway, so it was a mess. So if you want to check out my blog, it's a little bit about like what we can learn from this situation and what happened, and how it's actually a good thing that this is happening, even though it's really hard at the onset, and there'll be some damage in the short term, but in the long term, hopefully it'll help build a healthier charitable sector and healthier volunteer programs.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Okay. It's time for my favorite part of the podcast. I have this book.
All right.
3,000 questions about me. So you ask a question, or no, you give me a number, 1 to 3,000, but you cannot choose 7 or 77, because people always choose that number. Or those numbers. So, and then I read you the question, and if you don't like it, well, you can switch it. So you answer it. So choose a number, 1 to 3,000.
All right. So the first thing that came to mind is I definitely don't want 2020, but I think I do want 2021, because I am hopeful that 2021 is going to be a better year, and we're all going to have a nicer time as that zero clicks to 1.
Okay, I love it. All right, so let's see. 2021. All right. What would you do if you saw someone getting bullied? And I laugh at that question, not because I think that's funny, but I just feel like 2020 has been bullying us.
Yeah.
So in terms of from 2021 asking that question, that's why I thought it was funny. So what would you do if you saw someone being bullied?
Oh, I got to go way back to, I don't know if it was an after school special or something, but I'm a child of the 80s. So they like indoctrinated us with, like, if something bad is going on, you have to do this exact thing. Yeah. So I think the term is see something, say something.
Yes.
And if you see something, you say something. So I'm all about it. As a dad, I tell my kids relentlessly, if you see something bad, who cares what anybody thinks? Tell your teacher and help the child who is in a situation that is feeling bad for them. We should never put up with that. Obviously doing it in care and not being like punching the other guy out because he's a bully. That doesn't work either, but letting an authority figure know so they can help deal with it in a safe way. And I think the other one is that, and as a volunteer coordinator, I do a lot of orientation with people and talk to them about this exact scenario if they witness this. And I tell them, make sure you go back to the child who is hurting and check in on them and build them up. Because we don't want the last thing that they feel as their time at the program is someone being negative towards them. We want the last thing they feel is that when somebody was negative, somebody else came in and was making sure that they were giving positive and being there and making sure they speak truth to that situation, that that wasn't okay what he did. What's okay is you are an awesome young person, and some positive actual comment about whatever individual that might be, like, you I think you're so funny, or you just are so great out there running around being good to your friends, and that you got to keep being that person no matter what, and just make sure the positive outweighs that negative. And that's always key too, because we know we have to deal with the problem and the situation, but there's the relationship and the positive self-esteem that the child is it's in our hands to help rectify that situation. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was like the perfect question for you. It's so interesting that as I've been doing this, the questions that people have been asking have been like perfectly relatable to like who I mean, it's been
nice.
kind of like it's been kind of weird, but very cool, because it's like you had 3,000 numbers to choose from.
That's true.
Who
That's true.
could have better answered that than somebody who's working with kids all the time and deals with that like on a daily basis? Like, I'm sitting
there you go.
What would I do?
That's great.
I'm like, I'm kind of trying to think of it from a almost from like an older standpoint, because we have, just because I work with volunteers that are older, it doesn't mean that people are not necessarily bullying them and being mean.
True. Yep.
And things like that. And because I just think from like when I was younger, like I was the one being bullied. So I don't know. My solution for that was like, be nice to everybody, because then nobody will want you up. That was like my solution, and it worked. Just about. I was 98% accurate on that. But I was like, be nice to everybody. I don't care what be nice to everybody. If you're everybody's friend, nobody wants to beat you up.
Yeah.
But as I am like, it was something that I had to deal with my daughter. Like because I don't know if I've ever really, really been in a position where I've witnessed it, right? I've always been in the position, well, unless it was like actually happening to me, then I wasn't doing anything about it. But like I would hear about it from my daughter, or I would hear about it from volunteers. So like I've never, been in a place or a situation where I actually saw it. So to answer the question, what would I do? I'm gonna be honest, there's a little bit of fear in me. I'm like, I don't know, depending on who it is and what's going on, I don't know if I'm jumping into any situation, because I'm not trying to get my butt beat, because I'm like a 5'2", I'm about this big, I'm not trying to step up in there and be like knocked out. But I think maybe I like what you kind of said, like talking to an authority figure, and whoever that might be on the campus of where I am, and be like, because I know my limits. I may not be able to do anything, step in and make anything better, but maybe I can talk to the people who are trained to handle that. Yikes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's a lame answer, but it's the best one I have. Yikes.
Yeah. And
so
we are fortunate that, most often this happens with younger kids, where we can teach them. And that's another part of Christie Lake that's amazing, that I love, is that we never leave the person who was bullying out in the cold. We always work with them and talk to them and help them understand what they were doing and why they may have felt that way, and realize that everything kind of comes from a deeper place. And we almost always are able to help bring them back and apologize and have a reconciliation of sorts. And a lot of the times they're really good friends, and they just are sick and tired of each other and got into a scuffle. And then you see the power dynamic get out of whack. And we joke at Christie Lake that we're kind of like relationship gurus at the same time as we're program leaders. We help childhood friends and their families get along after a situation like that. So we really, when you get behind it, like in the moment, it seems really scary, but then as you dissect it all, it comes very much 90% of the time, it's out of a place where the child needs to learn a lesson. The person who did something wrong needs to learn a lesson, and they're trying to teach it out on somebody else in a really unhealthy way, rather than deal with how they're feeling or something that's happened to them or whatever it might be. And that's really important to understand too, is that, it's not a bully, it's a person who bullies, and they're bullying because of something. And that to me, again, really passionate about creating healthy community. And that's definitely one of them, is that, again, it goes back to all the great things we've been chatting about, boundaries, and being able to be there for people and help them to just to understand why they're acting the way they're feeling the way they're feeling. So
I mean, that was awesome. I promise. I did not tell him the question. He had no idea before I completed the book. Like I didn't. Been more perfect for you. Oh my goodness, that's awesome. Okay, so Adam, can you tell people who are listening, who are watching, how they can reach out to you, how they can get in contact with you, how they can connect with you?
Definitely. So we mentioned Beyond the Bake Sale, so check us out at btbs.ca. Don't go to BTS. That's the Korean boy band. Yes. We are very cool, but not quite that cool. But we do occasionally get the odd hit on our website from around the world, maybe typos related. But so btbs.ca, Beyond the Bake Sale. Check out our latest podcast. It's actually coming out. Otherwise, I'm on Twitter all the time, because that's just really a place to take in all kinds of things in the world. And it's Adam D. James, at Adam D. James. And you'll see all kinds of fun things. There's no hockey right now, but during the hockey season, I have to really bite my Twitter tongue, because I'm like, charity, Senators hockey, and it's a very odd mix of things. But I want to advocate that I have an article on the Engage Volunteers website. So if you haven't subscribed to Engage, please do so, and check out my my article about that COVID-19 and how do we build through COVID-19 and see a better sector on the other side.
Awesome.
And that's what's going on with me.
Awesome, Adam. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me a little bit of your time, because I know we are all like nutso crazy, and it's like we recorded this late in the evening, so I know like I'm gonna let you get back to your family. So thank them for giving me some of that precious family time.
Yeah.
I cannot thank you again. So all of the information that Adam has talked about, I will make sure to put in the show notes, and you'll be able to access it. And so I truly thank you for joining us for this episode of From the Suggestion Box, navigating feedback, the good, the bad, and the say what? Not letting the good stuff go to your heart and the bad stuff. Did I say that right? Yeah, no, I said that wrong. Not letting the good stuff go to your head and the bad stuff go to your heart. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to click. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. It's getting late. Okay. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to click subscribe and share and leave a comment and tell us how we're doing, because that's what this is about. Feedback. That's the only way I'm going to get better. So I look forward to hearing from you, and thank you again for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.